Hey everyone, Dollywood is one of the most awesome vacation trips you can take, and it's located in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. In this video, I'm going to give you some simple tips that'll help you make the most of your vacation. I'm going to cover some preliminary tips you want to take before you go to Dollywood. Next, I'm going to give you a sample packing list. Then I'm going to give you some dress tips, some tips on how you can save money on your vacation, and finally some tips on once you get in the park, how you can navigate. All right, let's get started. First of all, you want to make a checklist of items to take. Everyone has a different set of items they want to take, so sit down maybe with your family and brainstorm some items that you may want to take with you. Take that list with you so that before you leave, you can make sure you have all your major items like your cameras and all that. Next, you want to take a reliable vehicle, and that's very important if you live several miles away and it's going to be, take you an hour or several hours to get there. If you don't have a reliable vehicle, you may want to think about renting one for this trip. Next, do a quick checkup on your car. Check your fluids, check your tire pressure, top up and get a full tank of gas. So that way you will remove a lot of headaches right there. I always like to clean my car before a vacation, so you may want to wash it and clean out the inside as well. And take along a car kit, or you may want to consider it anyway, like jumper cables, some fix-it flat or something like that, some basic tips, some basic tools in case you do have a breakdown. Next, you want to get some directions. So I recommend you go to mapquest.com or a similar site and get direct driving directions from your home to the Dollywood theme park. Even though most people do have GPS on their phones or in their cars, you never know if the GPS isn't quite right, and it's always great to have a hard copy of those directions. Next, you always want to use the bathroom before you leave, and that's especially important if you have a bunch of children, even though they probably will say they don't have to use the bathroom, and then you'll get 5 minutes up the road and they will, but try to use the bathroom. And last, don't tell anyone you're going on vacation. I see people do this all the time. They'll get on their Facebook and Twitter, oh, I'm going to Dollywood, I'm going to Dollywood. And then they get back and surprise, your house has been burglarized. So don't do that. You don't want your house broken into, so don't announce it until you get back. Don't tell coworkers, don't have your children telling all their friends at school. Just keep it quiet, have a fun vacation, come back, and then tell everyone. Okay, so what do you want to pack? First of all, I highly recommend something called a fanny pack. Now, I don't like that term because that sounds girly, so I call it a waist locking device, but a fanny pack is just one of those things that ties around your waist and it has a pouch. And those are awesome because you can store snacks, your camera, your wallet, or any other thing, and it'll secure on you really well for the rides and so forth. So I recommend you get one of those and take that. Maybe even everyone in your family take that, and they can put stuff in that. Next, I would recommend taking a small cooler for your car, and you can put ice in it with some drinks and any maybe sandwich meat or something like that, so that on the way there, if you have to drive a few hours, you can snack in the car, not have to worry about stopping. And you can also have that there in case you have to leave the park and get a snack if you have food allergies, for example, and you can't eat anything in the park. Or let's say once you leave on the ride home, you'll have the cooler there and you can eat some snacks. So that helps us out. My wife and I usually do that. Another thing, you want to pack sunscreen. You want to apply sunscreen before you get to the park, and you also want to reapply it because it is outdoors, of course, and it gets really hot during the summer when Dollywood's open, so it can have 90-degree days. So you want to pack you some sunscreen. Next, you want to take sunglasses. That's especially important on those sunny days when you're walking around. Make sure to take some cash with you so you can pay for anything that may pop up. And you can also, take your wallet with your credit cards, identification, and so forth. A first aid kit, they're really simple. It's always a good idea to have one in your car just in case. Take any medications you may need if you're on, if you're diabetic, for example, or if you have any medications, you want to take that. You may even want to pack a small thing of Tylenol to keep in your car just in case someone gets a headache or something like that. You want to take your cell phone and charger, so you'll have that with you. You want to take your digital camera, your memory card, and your batteries because you've got to capture those awesome memories, take video footage, and whatever else, right? If you have your cell phone and that's all you use, that's fine, but you might want to consider digital camera as well. Next, you can think about taking sandwich baggies, and sandwich baggies are good because you can take your cell phone and put in there and zip up the sandwich baggie and put it in your pouch for the wet rides, and that just makes sure that your $200, $300, $400 cell phone doesn't get absolutely ruined, which would be horrible, right? So sandwich baggies for the delicate items or digital items that you take with you, that's really good if you plan to ride wet rides. Next, you want to make sure you take your season tickets or your coupons if you're taking any. Next, you want to think about hand sanitizer, especially if you're one of those germ freaks, so you can, wash your hands, clean your hands before you eat or after you've been handling everything. Napkins are important if you want to, especially in the car, if you're taking the snacks with you, like I mentioned earlier. You might want to take a wristwatch so you can keep track of time and know how many minutes or hours you have before the park closes and so forth. You also want to take some chapstick or lip balm in addition to the sunscreen, because when you're out all day, your lips can get really dry. So think about putting something on your lips to moisturize them and protect them from the sun. You also want to think about looking at the forecast, and if there's a chance of rain, you can get these little plastic ponchos that could literally fit in your pocket. And I have been at Dollywood once when it rained for a while, and you just have to literally sit there under something. But if you have an umbrella or a poncho with you, you can at least walk around and look at the attractions while you wait for the rides to open back up. So that's something you may want to keep in mind. And then finally, bug repellent. Bugs usually aren't a major issue at Dollywood, but it is outdoors in the Smoky Mountains. So if you have a problem with mosquitoes or something like that, you may want to think about putting on a sunscreen or some material that repels bugs as well. All right, now let's talk about dress tips. What do you want to wear on your Dollywood trip? First of all, you want to wear a really comfortable pair of sandals that really strap around your feet and secure them. That's what I recommend. That's best, especially if you plan to ride the wet rides, because that will allow your feet to kind of dry as you're walking around, because your feet will get wet. If you don't wear sandals that are really, really comfortable, then wear tennis shoes, because tennis shoes are the next best bet. The only downside is you can get water in your shoes and they can be wet. And I remember one time when we went, I wore tennis shoes and my feet became like shriveled up raisins, and they peeled over the next week or two, and they hurt so bad I could barely walk on them the next day, because literally my feet were stuck in wet shoes all day. So if you do wear tennis shoes, bring at least 1 or 2 pairs of socks to change in once your socks get really saturated. And don't wear flip-flops. You will have blisters on your feet in between your toes right there. So just make sure you wear comfortable shoes. That's huge. Next, I would recommend you wear shorts and light colored clothing, because it is hot again, and you just want to wear minimal clothing so that it can dry quickly. They even make that spandexy material. I don't know what it's called, but you'll see this a lot, like fitness type clothing that's made to dry really quickly. I don't know if it's polyester or what, but it dries really fast. You might want to consider getting a shirt and even maybe a pair of shorts that's made of that. It's almost like that swimming wear material. That way, when you ride these wet rides, your clothing will dry much more quickly, and that will be more comfortable for you. You want to think about whether or not you want to wear a hat, because if you're going to ride roller coasters and stuff, the wind's just going to knock your hat right off. And every time you go to ride a ride, you're going to have to take your hat off or get someone to hold it for you or something. Now, if you've had skin cancer or something on your face, or if you want to protect your face, and it's understandable, you may want to wear one, but just keep that in mind. I usually don't wear hats when I go to Dollywood. And you want to avoid any kind of jewelry. You may even want to take your wedding rings off and so forth, because it may get damaged or lost, and if it does, you'll probably never find it. And then finally, I've already talked about sunglasses, but I usually wear sunglasses in the park, and you might want to take them off for some rides, but for the most part, for most rides, you can wear them. All right, now let's talk about how you can save some money on your trip. First of all, you always want to think about a season pass versus a ticket. Because if you plan to go to Dollywood at least 2 or 3 times, usually it pays just to get a season pass. If you're only going to go once and that's it, then you can usually do a one-day ticket. A lot of times Dollywood will offer a little offer that if you go after 3 p.m., you can sometimes come back the next day for free. I think that's an offer they still run. So you may want to look out for that. And if you plan to stay, say, one night at the Pigeon Forge area, you could go after 3 to Dollywood, pay the price, and then the next day get in free. That's something you may want to consider. Another way you can save money, before you go on the trip, go to all online coupon sites, or go to a search engine and type in Dollywood coupons or something like that. You may be able to find coupons on a site like Groupon or something like that. Even Dollywood.com sometimes may put an offer. You could sign up for their email, and sometimes they'll email you special offers. So that's a great way to save money, and you can really, $5, $10 here and there really adds up. In addition, sometimes they'll put out Coca-Cola cans with coupons on them for Dollywood. They'll do a special with Coca-Cola. Even sometimes grocery stores will team up with Dollywood, and if you buy a certain price, or if you get sometimes a plastic baggie will have a coupon on it, and you can take that with you and get $5 off admission or something like that. And finally, keep in mind that while you're there, you can get free water from the vendors. And that's important because if you buy drinks every time you're thirsty, that's going to set you back $3 to $5 a pop. And for you and your whole family, that can add up 20, 30, 40 bucks before you leave the park. But they are, I think, required by law maybe to give you a free cup of water with ice in it. They have to give you that. So you can do that to save money, and you can buy drinks to help them out financially too. But just think about that you can get that. All right, now let's talk about a few tips with park once you're in the park, and then we're done, okay? First of all, it's a good idea to either do the wet rides either first or last. And the reason that is because if you do the wet rides, if you split it up, then what happens is you get there, you do a wet ride, then you do dry rides, you do wet rides, and you're just kind of in this wet state the whole entire day, and it can be uncomfortable. Like I said, your shoes can get wet, your feet can get that prune to them. Instead, you may want to do all the wet rides right when you get there or right before you leave. It may help to do them when you get there, so that way once you get back in your car, your whole family's dried off. But try to do the wet rides all at one time. Another tip is get a map of the whole Dollywood theme park so you'll know where all the rides and all the attractions and all the cooking places are. And you can usually print those off online if I'm not mistaken, or at least look at it online. And when you go there, you can get a physical copy of the map. And that will help you if you sit down with your family and talk about what rides are important to you, which ones you really want to ride. And you can kind of group them up by location, so that way you don't have to walk all over the park 50 million times. You can say, okay, first we'll go to this area and ride all these rides, then we'll go to this area, then this area, then this area. And that will save down on the energy you have to spend walking around and being in the hot sun and so forth. And it'll also help you, by the way, with the lines, because lines start to get longer as the day goes on. So if you hurry and ride the most important rides you want to ride first, then you can avoid some of those lines. And another thing to keep in mind is that the roller coasters tend to get the biggest lines because that's what everyone wants at Dollywood. I don't like roller coasters myself, but some people love roller coasters. So if you want to do the roller coasters, remember that the lines tend to fill up as the day goes on and more people come in. So try to ride those first. Another thing is think about what you're going to eat. Think about any food allergy issues or what your family likes, and look at the map, and you can kind of pinpoint where you all would like to eat lunch if you're going to eat in Dollywood. Last, this is a big thing, play any arcade games or buy merchandise at the very end of the day. The reason is if you buy stuffed animals or a new hat or whatever while you're there, every time you go to ride a ride, you're gonna have to get someone to hold them or do something with that. So wait till you're done riding rides before you buy souvenirs or merchandise. That way you're not gonna have the aggravation of holding it when you ride. And then finally, get there early and leave early. If you get there early, you're going to avoid quite a bit of traffic, because what happens is when you go to park, usually you have to ride a little trolley and then it takes you there, and then you go to the front gate of Dollywood and get in. And when you leave, if you wait till closing time, everyone's going to come out at the same time, and you're going to have to literally wait sometimes 30 minutes, an hour, just for the trolley to just keep taking people and coming back for you to finally get to your car. So try to get out before the crowd and get there before the crowd, and that's going to help you get in and out of Dollywood with ease. So I've talked to you about some things to pack, ways to save money, what to wear when you dress, and how to make the most of your park. I hope you have a fantastic vacation. Enjoy Dollywood. It's an awesome theme park, and thank you so much for watching.